Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, on the 21st of January 2023, the new year, Chris Eubank Jr. returns to the ring and he will be facing Liam Smith at middleweight at the Manchester Arena. Now, before we get into this, this fight is on pay-per-view, and I have to say, despite me thinking it's a good fight, I certainly don't believe it is pay-per-view worthy. Good fight, but at the end of the day, Liam Smith is not a big name. There's no world title on the line. To me, this would suffice as a really good main event on a Saturday night on Sky Sports. I'm sure if it was regular Sky, it would do big numbers. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Boxer, Ben Shalom, Sky Sports have decided to put this one behind a paywall. Ultimately, if this is the standard of a pay-per-view in 2022, 2023, then yeah, it's not good for boxing fans, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, just because it's a good fight, or just because a fight is good, it doesn't necessarily mean it's pay-per-view worthy. There's other factors to include there. But regardless, not good news for boxing fans. Ultimately, I think what Sky Sports are doing here is that they're trying to capitalise on the boost in Chris Eubank Jr.'s reputation. Obviously, back in October, he was supposed to fight Conor Benn. That fight fell through due to Conor Benn failing multiple drug tests. And after that, people were very impressed with the way that Chris Eubank Jr. dealt with that situation. And in fact, when you look at like casual boxing fans, this is the most liked Chris Eubank Jr. has ever been. Because when you look at it, yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. is a relatively big name because of his surname, but he's never really like crossed over to the British boxing casual fans. He's never really crossed over. He's never really been liked like that, you know. But the fallout of the Conor Benn fight actually garnered him some fans, and I think that is what Sky Sports are trying to capitalise on. But ultimately, I don't think this fight is going to do that well on pay-per-view, and yeah, I don't think that's necessarily going to translate to pay-per-view sales. But regardless of this fight being on pay-per-view, it is a good fight in my opinion. I think this one should be relatively competitive. They had a press conference a couple of days ago, which was relatively entertaining. Chris Eubank Jr. trolling Liam Smith. I felt Liam Smith was biting a little bit too much. Chris Eubank Jr. announced that he was back with Roy Jones Jr. for this fight, which makes this somewhat interesting because when you look at the stylistic matchup between these two, Liam Smith is the guy who likes to come forwards behind that nice tight guard. He jabs his way in quite well, and he likes to work on the inside. He's got really good bent arm shots, good uppercuts through the middle, really good head positioning on the inside. Liam Smith has underrated skills on the inside. Good body puncher also, not the greatest from the outside though. Whereas Chris Eubank Jr., it's kind of hard to say what his style is anymore under Roy Jones Jr. He's kind of adopting he's trying to adopt an approach of being somewhat of a sharpshooter. You know, he'll throw that quick jab. Usually he'll throw that jab from his waist and he'll look for one single power shot behind it. He's becoming very economical and a bit of a one-shot at a time fighter. And I'm still not convinced whether that suits Chris Eubank Jr., to be honest. There were times in the Liam Williams fight where he was getting outworked late on. I mean, you know, he looked quite pedestrian against Marcus Morrison and also against that Wanjik guy. You know, I've not been convinced by this new style for Chris Eubank Jr. I don't think it really suits him. For me personally, I prefer Chris Eubank Jr.'s old style. I don't really think he's got the technical ability to pull off this one shot at a time type of style. Eubank Jr. for me primarily relies heavily on his athleticism, his speed, his hand speed. And I think Chris Eubank Jr.'s old style was a bit better, where he would kind of merge, like kind of mulling around on the outside, popping the jab, but he would then explode with multi-punch combinations on the inside, uppercuts through the middle, body shots, etc. Kind of like a buzzsaw type approach at times. I preferred that version of Chris Eubank Jr. and I found that version more effective. I think that version would have stopped somebody like Marcus Morrison or Liam Williams. That's me personally. But having said that, I still think this style of Chris Eubank Jr. can give Liam Smith a lot of trouble, because Liam Smith isn't really great on the outside, in my opinion. I think Liam Smith is best on the inside and at mid-range, when he's exchanging with a guy, when he can collapse the pocket. Basically, when he engages you into a bit of a war. But he's not the greatest from the outside, you know. He does the basics okay. He's got a decent jab, but I don't think that's where Liam Smith excels. And considering that, even this new version of Chris Eubank Jr. may give Liam Smith some trouble with his lateral movement, the quick jab, you know, quick feet as well. I think that style will always give Liam Smith trouble. So yeah, despite me not being all that convinced with Eubank Jr.'s new style, I still think he will give Liam Smith a lot of trouble. You know, just considering Liam Smith's weaknesses. But it's a good fight, and I wonder as well, if Eubank Jr. does actually merge his old style in this fight, it could be you could get some great exchanges up close. And it's funny because Liam Smith primarily is the inside fighter, and I would say he's got more technical skills on the inside than Chris Eubank Jr. But if Eubank Jr. does engage Liam on the inside, Liam certainly he doesn't have the hand speed to keep up with Chris Eubank Jr. So if they do get to the inside, I think those battles will be very interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised actually to see Chris Eubank Jr. actually get the better of Liam on the inside based on that speed, you know, based on that combination speed. But overall, it's a good fight. It is a good fight. But again, it feels like once again boxing is shooting itself in the foot. This fight would generate real interest on regular Sky. It would do great numbers. But again, Dana White put it best. When it comes to boxing promoters treat their shows like a going out of sale type of auction. You know, anything that could be considered somewhat a pay-per-view, I mean, they put it on pay-per-view. But in reality, Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith should be on regular Sky. It would make a lot of sense, and those are the sort of fights domestically in the UK that grow the sport. But when it's locked behind a paywall, you know, it doesn't really do anything for the sport, in my opinion. Yeah, some hardcores are going to buy it, and some casuals might buy it, but you're cutting off your audience massively. You really are. But it is what it is. It is what it is. That's boxing for you in 2022, 2023. What can you say? But yeah, decent fight. I will watch it. Am I going to pay for it? Absolutely not. But we should be grateful, because if this was back in the day 20 years ago and a fight was on pay-per-view, you didn't think it was worth it, but you still wanted to see the fight to some degree, then you couldn't watch the fight. But these days, we have so many means to watch said fights. Big up to the Pirates. Big up to the Pirates. But it is what it is. Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy. Who have you got in this fight, by the way? Who have you got in this fight? And do you rate this fight? Share your thoughts below. Peace.